Back to the video. So I just found a tycoon right here called Clone Kingdom Tycoon. I think I like it now. So tycoon is supposed to be like you have to defend your base, but yeah, I don't know. So I'm doing this. So I was doing this, but I'm gonna show. I'm just probably show. Oh, what's that? This. I'll buy it.
Before the indictment was brought out in Mar-a-Lago, just to remind everybody what happened here, Donald Trump took with him dozens and dozens and dozens of boxes that had material in it that were not that were presidential records and should have been returned by him back to the American people through the National Archive and never retained. We've never had a president with sticky fingers like Donald Trump, who ran a kleptocracy while he was president. People. In this case, he took anything that wasn't nailed down on the last day of his time in office. He apparently took with him to Mar-a-Lago and then took another batch to Bedminster, another golf course. There were negotiations while he was in office, immediately upon his arrival at Mar-a-Lago, to return.
I don't know what these do.
When that failed, the lawyers and representatives decided they couldn't trust him and stopped representing him. He got new lawyers. In this case, Evan Corcoran, who's not cooperating with the government. And Jennifer Little, who is still representing him in Georgia with her co-counsel, Steve Sadow. And Jennifer Little told Donald Trump that it got to the point of a friendly request and negotiation with the National Archives, where apparently we're falling on deaf ears with Donald Trump and felt like he had an ownership right in all of these boxes and documents, top secret classified national defense information documents.
By John gonna shoot him in.
You are going to commit a crime if you don't respond to the subpoena process. Because Donald Trump was saying things, and we know this from the notes that Evan Corcoran took and recordings and those types of things. Donald Trump was saying, use your mind. What if I held on to them? Why do I have to respond? Why don't we just tell them we provided everything to the National Archives? Why don't we lie to the government? And that's when Jennifer Little said, if you don't stop screwing around, it's going to get to the point of your committing crimes. Donald Trump didn't listen to that, and when it got to the point of the subpoena being issued, ultimately the grand jury, the subpoena being issued, to have all the documents returned, Donald Trump still misled his lawyer, Evan Corcoran, in May and June of that period, right, of 2022, misled him and told him that everything he needed to look at was in a locked storage closet, in a locked basement closet down in the basement of Mar-a-Lago. When he knew or should have known, he knew that he had dozens and dozens of boxes, totaling about 30 or more, brought up by Walt Nauta, his valet, butler, body man, and now co-conspirator or defendant in the case. He had them whisked away from the storage units down in the basement of Mar-a-Lago and brought up to the personal residence of Donald Trump. What the FBI didn't know at the time were two new facts that we're just learning now for the purpose of the cocktail. One, that there was a secret locked room, small room, in Donald Trump's own room behind a dresser and TV that could have contained storage.
That's right.
Classified information that Donald Trump wanted to hide from lawyers, the FBI, the government, and ultimately federal judges. And that there was another locked storage unit, or locked storage closet, that had been carved out of a former, underneath a stairwell, that now had shelves in it.
There's like three of us in here.
Secret Service, because he's a former president, and when he was president, that Donald Trump required the maintenance team to change the lock on it while his lawyer was searching in vain for all the documents down in the Mar-a-Lago basement. And the FBI, that they were pointing in, did not know that Donald Trump had given out the command to change the lock on that door of that secret closet. If they had, when they reached it, they were told, oh, we don't have the key. And apparently the FBI was like, okay, as opposed to breaking it down and breaking into it. Now, there's a scope of a search warrant that is issued by a magistrate judge in this case. And in the scope of the search warrant, it said that they are required to search all storage rooms and other rooms where documents may be located. That includes bedrooms and offices and everything else. Look, you can interpret search warrants as narrowly, or subpoenas as narrowly as you want, search warrants as narrowly as you want the execute of the FBI. But a locked room with a lock on it like Donald Trump, it seems to be a room you want to go into, along with the fact that the FBI did not even know that the lock had recently been changed. Which means they searched everything else. They found a dozen or more boxes that had not been turned over to the government. They found over 100 classified, top secret, and/or national defense information documents that belong to the United States government. You recall, or I'll tell you straight now, that Evan Corcoran, the last in the chain of lawyers that were hired by Donald Trump and misled by him, was told by Donald Trump, why don't we just have the maintenance man and my body man sort of arrange the room for you? And he said, no, I'll do the review myself. I'll be back in a week. Well, as I reported previously, in that week's time between the subpoena coming in and the lawyer, trying to collect the documents to respond to the subpoena, Donald Trump had Walt Nauta take 30 boxes on video. Then Donald Trump figured out that there was a video surveillance cameras around, and he gave the order to erase the video, which fortunately was not executed, but he gave that command. And so, in that week period of time when Evan Corcoran, the lawyer for Donald Trump, turned his back on Donald Trump, what did he do? He started moving boxes in and out of there, trying to stage, if you will, the area, and then even despite Donald Trump's best efforts, Evan Corcoran still found 38 classified top secret documents. He put them in a sealed envelope. He told Donald Trump about it. And then Evan Corcoran, in his own hand, in notes that have been turned over to the federal government to prosecute the Department of Justice by order of a federal judge, he said in his notes that Donald Trump told him, well, when you go back to your hotel, down the street from Mar-a-Lago. He wasn't staying in Mar-a-Lago. He was staying at a little hotel that I know in Palm Beach around the corner. And when you go back to that hotel, you know, why don't you sort of make them disappear? And every corporate wrote that Donald Trump made a plucking status. Like, pluck out some documents, some of those documents, and don't produce them over the government. Violate the terms of the subpoena. Exactly what Jennifer Little, the other lawyer, was telling him, could ultimately constitute crime. So when the government got this package, this ridiculous crap package, 38 documents only, knowing what they knew from other cooperating witnesses, about 30 boxes having moved around. They didn't even know about the locked storage unit. They didn't know about the secret room, but they knew about enough that they knew that the 38 documents in this envelope was not with a far cry from the total number that should have been turned over. And that's when they went to the magistrate in August, in July and August. They went to the magistrate based on the evidence. So the probable cause that Donald Trump had committed a crime in retaining and hiding and obstructing justice and obstructing the search and not being cooperative in good faith with the subpoena, requiring the extraordinary circumstance of the magistrate issuing a search warrant for the home of the federal former president. That's how we got here. But this new reporting is there's at least 2 locations: the secret room behind the TV and the heavy dresser and the Trump residence that wasn't searched by the FBI and should have been, frankly. And then this locked former stairwell storage area closet thing that Donald Trump changed the lock on while his lawyers searched in vain in the storage unit for all the documents. If the FBI had known that fact, look, there are plenty of areas of Mar-a-Lago where they searched and they didn't find it. They primarily found the FBI documents located in the storage area of Mar-a-Lago in the and in the office area of Donald Trump. They didn't find things in the bedroom. Sure, they found a classified folder being used, to cover over a nightlight or an alarm clock. There's too much light for Donald Trump to sleep. Like he's in a hotel, the guy covered the clock with a towel ready. But they never found it. That does beg the question. Should they have gone back? Now, they did require Evan Corcoran, and I believe other lawyers, Tim Parker-Corey was involved with the Noise Team Trump. They went and back and they found a couple of other documents located in a storage unit in West Palm Beach that Trump had as a former president.
Yes.
A couple of more Mar-a-Lago. They never searched that least, which by the time they executed that search warrant in August, I don't know if it was Miami or Palm Beach in August, they said this in New Jersey. They never searched this. And we know for a fact, from other reporting, that, Carlos D. Oliveira, who's the state worker in the city, helped load up an SUV driven by Walt Nauta to drive from Florida to New Jersey and had boxes in it. They never got to the bottom or inventory those boxes either. But Jack Smith certainly has enough.
This new multifunctional scent crisp is not only easy to use, it also clamps very securely. It features a unique spiral.
In June of 2023, a group of hikers set out to hike Southern California's Mount Baldy. The group's organizer, an anonymous woman, was excited to get some miles in, but she also had a strangely unique fear stuck in the back of her mind. As she began to climb, she couldn't quite shake this chilling thought: I hope we don't find a dead body today. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've had this same thought at the start of some of my hikes before, but it's always been kind of a morbid joke to myself. Never once did I have that thought and actually think there was a real chance of me stumbling across a dead body during my hike. For the woman in this story, however, this wasn't just a paranoid thought, and it certainly wasn't a joke. She really was worried that her group would discover a dead body while making their way up Mount Baldy, and she had good reason for this fear. 5 months earlier, a famous British actor had set out into the was now hiking up, and this actor had vanished without a trace. Searches for him were extensive, but had turned up nothing. Because of the man's fame, the group leader knew that if her fears were confirmed true, and they did in fact discover his body, their discovery would be making international headlines by nightfall. But regardless of these fears, the group set out, and the first few hours of their hike went by. I'm sure at this point the woman's fears were finally starting to subside. However, these fears would soon come rushing back, because deep into the canyon, one of the group members spotted a stray food. And then they spotted a wallet. And inside that wallet, they found a driver's license, which confirmed the nagging fear the group leader had been feeling since departing from the trailhead. The group had discovered the remains of British actress Julian Sands, and they had accidentally solved a mystery that had been plaguing the hiking community, Hollywood, and the news media since the previous one. This is the tragic story of Julian Sands' last hike. Now, folks, this is a really sad story, but I do think that there's a lot we can learn from it, and for that reason I'd like to thank our sponsor, Decathlon, for making this video possible in the first place. And speaking of learning, did you know that the outdoor industry is trying to outsmart you? If you've ever tried to buy a down jacket or puffer jacket before, you'll know how ridiculously expensive they can be. Your average 800 fill RGS certified down jacket can run anywhere from $150 up to $300, or honestly, a lot of times they're even more than that. It's ridiculous. And the reason it's ridiculous is because you're not really paying the high price for the gear itself, you're actually paying the high price for the logo and the brand name, which, in my opinion, is total BS. Decathlon, however, is breaking this cycle. They're proving that you can have high quality gear at a fantastic price. And if you don't believe me, check this system. This is the Decathlon's MT100 down jacket, and the price of the MT100 is only $99.99, which already sounds unbelievable. I thought they were joking, to be honest, when I first saw it, but it gets even more unbelievable when you hear these stats. Decathlon's MT100 down jacket consists of 800 fill down insulation, it's water repellent, it keeps you warm down to 23 degrees Fahrenheit, and it only weighs 10 ounces. That's right, a 10-ounce down jacket for only $100. So many outdoor companies are taking advantage of their customers, but Decathlon is hit the link in the description to go grab yourself an MT100 and keep yourself warm on your next adventure. I really do believe this is the best thing you're going to find on ultralight down jackets. Once again, hit that link in the description right now, and thank you so much for Decathlon for supporting this. On January 13th, 2023, Julian Sands set out from his home in North Hollywood, California to hike Mount Baldy, which is a 10,000 plus foot peak in the San Diego Mountains. Now, Mount Baldy is a popular mountain, but that doesn't mean that it's not dangerous. Mount Baldy is the frequent site of emergency hiker rescues and also, unfortunately, hiker deaths. In fact, this is not even the first time I've covered an incident that happened on Mount Baldy on my channel. Despite the danger of taking on a 10,000 plus foot peak in the dead of winter, Julian Sands was, at least in theory, prepared. According to the New York Times, Sands had climbed Mount Baldy approximately 200 times, including numerous times in the winter. He was no amateur. He was even quoted saying, "I like it in the winter. Winter conditions make it a bit more interesting." Perhaps another thing that Sands liked about hiking in the winter was the extra solitude that it provides. I assume this was especially valuable to him in particular because he had lived much of his adult life in the Hollywood spotlight. Julian Sands was born in England, and like most actors, he got his start by playing small roles in films and TV shows. He appeared in films and series such as The Sun Also Rises, A Married Man, and The Killing Field. And he eventually landed a lead role in the romance film A Room with a View. Shortly after this success, Sands moved from England to the United States, to Hollywood specifically, to continue his career. By 2011, Julian Sands was basically a household name. After moving to the U.S., he appeared in numerous movies and TV shows, including Warlock, The Phantom of the Opera, and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, among many others. Julian Sands' fame makes his story a very unique one for this channel. I've never covered a story where a celebrity was the main focus of a hiking mystery. However, each story I cover always does have its own unique twist, and so I encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so that you won't miss any future videos. We'll also be helping us reach our goal of 300,000 subscribers. We're picking up there, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, Julian Sands was clearly an experienced and accomplished actor. Anyone who knew him understood that. But what a lot of people did not know was that Sands was also an experienced and accomplished hiker, even, you could say, a mountaineer. In addition to those 200 ascents of Mount Baldy that I mentioned a few minutes ago, Sands had also hiked extensively in the Alps and in the Andes, where in 1990 he nearly lost his life. He was quoted saying, "In the Andes, caught in an atrocious storm over 20,000 feet with 3 others. We were all in a very bad way. Some guys close to us perished. We were lucky." Unfortunately, Sands' luck would run out in 2023. On the morning of January 23rd, he began hiking up the Baldy Bowl Trail all by himself. And once again, this was completely normal for him. But one thing that was not normal was that by 7:30 p.m. that night, he had not returned home from the hike. And because this was so abnormal, it's at this time that his family reported his missing. Now, despite all of his hiking and mountaineering experience, Julian Sands chose a bad day to hike Mount Baldy. Extremely high winds and intense snow slammed the mountain on the afternoon of his hike, complicating the immediate effort to search for him and hopefully rescue him. Now, I'm not sure if Sands was aware of the bad weather conditions and chose to hike out anyways, or if it was the unpredicted storm, unpredicted weather, but regardless, the winter of 2023 consisted of a lot of bad days to hike Mount Baldy. In the week prior to Sands' hike, there were a whopping 14 calls for rescue on and around Mount Baldy. In fact, Sands wasn't even the only hiker to go missing in the area on the day of January 13th. That very same day, hiker Bob Gregory was heard for the last time, and over a month later, his body was found about 300 feet from the summit of Mount Islip, nearby to Mount Baldy. The day that he was found, February 18th, marked the end of the mystery of Bob Gregory. But on February 18th, the mystery of Julian Sands was still very much alive and well. By this point, a lot was known about Sands' plan and his rough location. A few days after Sands was reported missing, his car was found at the base of Mount Baldy, and officials received a few pings from his cell phone placing him on a ridge on the Baldy Bowl Trail high up on the mountain. Numerous ground searches have been conducted, helicopters have been searching from the air, and drones were even being used to try to spot Sands or his gear. And yet, despite all of this, he still had not been located. Now, the search for Sands had numerous difficulties, the main one being the weather and winter conditions that were occurring on Mount Baldy. In the week after Sands' disappearance, storm after storm pounded Mount Baldy, dropping piles of snow that would easily conceal a body and any stray hiking. The dangerous conditions that presumably led to Sands' disappearance in the first place also presented extreme risks.
Actually, like, this is actually fun. Also, like and subscribe. We're almost there. We need like 57 more subscribers to beat my friend Random Plays.
By the way, I just want to say the canyon is spelled G-O-O-D-E. I'm not sure if it's pronounced good or like Goody or something else. I'm just going to say good, but I'm sorry if that's wrong. So anyways, he was on the ridge between Baldy Bowl and Good Canyon, and it was likely that he ended up either falling or perhaps accidentally wandering into one of these two locations. And as the search for him dragged on into the summer, it was beginning to look like Good Canyon was the more obvious choice. Now this was because Baldy Bowl, the other choice, was a very popular destination for winter hikers, climbers, and skiers, so the likelihood that Sands would have been discovered if he was there, and not just discovered but discovered quickly, was very high. Good Canyon, however, was very seldom traveled. The terrain there was so treacherous and remote that it wasn't even safe to search the canyon on foot during the winter. Helicopters with advanced signal detection had searched it repeatedly with nothing to show. Finally, however, in June of 2023, the conditions were finally safe enough to allow a thorough search of Good Canyon on foot. One search team made their way down the canyon from the top, and one team climbed up from the bottom. The two teams would presumably meet in the middle, and therefore they would have covered the entire canyon. But even in the early summer conditions, this proved to be too difficult and too dangerous of a task. The teams ended up running out of daylight, leaving the middle section of Good Canyon unsearched. And a few days later, the group of hikers mentioned at the start of this video made their way right into that unsearched middle section. Now, this group of hikers was being led by a woman who preferred to remain anonymous, and she was very aware that they would be traversing through the area where Julian Sands likely perished. This group leader had climbed Good Canyon an impressive 5 or 6 times previously, making her very experienced in the difficult terrain. And it's even more impressive too because my understanding is that Good Canyon does not have an established hiking trail running through it, so those who do attempt to climb it are going to be bushwhacking through very dense brush, they're going to be traversing with dirt, and scrambling over giant boulders. I don't think that many people hike Good Canyon, to be honest. This woman, who was the group's leader, was fearful that they would accidentally stumble upon Julian Sands' remains. Due to the actor's fame and the mysterious nature of the case, it was being covered by the media much more than a typical missing hiker story would be. In fact, I'm willing to bet that pretty much every hiker who climbed Mount Baldy so far that year either knew about his disappearance or perhaps even had his disappearance fresh on their mind. And I imagine this would be even more true if they were among the few hikers who dared to take on Good Canyon. About 3.5 hours into the climb, the group of hikers had already reached 8,400 feet in elevation. They had funneled into a spot with especially thick brush, and because of that, members of the group spread out to try to increase their chances of finding a path of least resistance. And then, while they were searching, one of the hikers in the group spotted a lone boot. Now, this boot was hidden so well that the group actually walked right by it. Soon after, the group found that the boot was a yard. Next came the treasure chest, and then finally, the group found a pile of treasure. Inside the pocket, they found the treasure. Can't even imagine that while they pulled out the treasure, what had happened to the actor finally questions about Julian Sands' last hike. The first and most obvious of which is how and why did he die? The Sheriff's Department ruled Sands' cause of death as undetermined, which is understandable given his remains were stuck in such a harsh environment for months. I imagine it'd be hard to determine anything about what had happened given the conditions of his remains. As of the time of this recording, we still haven't gotten the full autopsy report. The next unanswered question is how and why did Sands end up in Good Canyon in the first place? After all, he was hiking the Baldy Bowl Trail, which does not enter the canyon. We'll probably never know exactly what happened, but there are a few plausible theories. The first is that Sands could have gotten lost and then maybe fallen. The Baldy Bowl Trail does traverse close to the canyon, so perhaps he got a little lost and then he accidentally fell in the steep terrain, or maybe he got lost and then accidentally wandered down into the canyon and became too exhausted to make his way back out. Perhaps some combination of these scenarios happened and then his body was pushed further down the canyon by shifting snow or avalanches, something like that. And yet another somewhat controversial unanswered question is, if Julian Sands was an experienced climber and had summited Mount Baldy 200 times before, then why was his body found without the necessary gear for the conditions that he was hiking in? Now, I have to tread lightly here. I'm not trying to victim blame. I'm not trying to blame Julian Sands or say that he deserved the state, obviously not. I do think it's important to talk about the gear that he was found with, or without, however, because I think that it could potentially save the lives of future hikers. So with that said, strapped to one of Julian Sands' boots was a microspike, which is a piece of traction gear good for mild winter conditions and trails that aren't that steep. However, microspikes would not have been sufficient for the conditions on Mount Baldy in January of 2023. My understanding is that crampons would have been a much safer choice. They're easier, and they provide much better traction on steep, icy slopes. As an experienced climber and hiker, I'm sure Sands has worn crampons before, and in fact, only 5 days before his hike up Mount Baldy, a woman on the exact same trail, the Baldy Bowl Trail, slipped and fell to her death. Just like Sands, she was wearing only microspikes, no crampons, and no helmet, which was another piece of gear that Julian Sands was not found with. One of the men who discovered Sands' remains was quoted saying, "I was a little shocked to see the microspikes. They were just the wrong tools for the job at hand." There was also no sign that Sands was carrying an ice axe or a satellite GPS with an SOS button. Tragically odd gear choices from a man who had a high level of backcountry experience. Now, there is one very important caveat that I want to mention here, and that is Julian Sands' backpack was not found with his remains or the gear that was discovered. So it is possible that he was carrying some of this important gear and it just hasn't been discovered yet. Now, if this discovery happens and it turns out he did have crampons and he did have an ice pack, I'll make a correction video immediately. But, I don't know, it just seems unlikely to me that he was up on such a treacherous part of the trail, but kept all that important gear, the crampons, the ice pack, tucked away in the backpack, not utilized. It just seems most likely that if he did have it, it would have been found where his remains were found and where the rest of the gear was. Once again, I'm not trying to victim blame here, but the truth about Julian Sand's last hike is that possibly, maybe even probably, would not have been his last hike if he had made some different gear choices. I think we can be honest about this without doing it in a way that is shaming him or even criticizing him. I'm really saying this because I want you all to think twice about the conditions that you're hiking in, especially in the winter, and the gear that you choose to bring with you. My heart goes out to Julian Sand's friends and family, and may he rest in peace. Thank you all for watching.
How's the chili coming? How's the chili coming?
Smells really good. We'll have about 2 more hours.
Just after 3 p.m. on the 4th of July 2012, runners in Seward, Alaska gathered at the starting line. And folks, this was not your typical 5K or fun run. The race that they were about to compete in was the infamous Mount Marathon race. A race so intense that locals insist that if you're not bleeding by the time you cross the finish line, you didn't try hard enough. One of the runners in 2012 was 65-year-old Michael Lemaitre, and despite being in phenomenal shape for his age, the odds were stacked against him. Not only was this his first time running in the Mount Marathon race, but he had never even climbed the mountain before. Both of those things despite numerous warnings from the race directors that rookies should absolutely not under any circumstances.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Race is one of those things that most people can hang with. They're like, you think, oh, they're so easy. But it takes a lot of practice to get the hang of it. Not great, but hanging in there.
At their first trip up Mount Marathon be during the race. That's a scenario right for disaster, and sure enough, in 2012, disaster struck. One racer lacerated her liver, another broke his legs and damaged his brain, and a third racer, the aforementioned Michael Lemaitre, disappeared off the face of the earth right after this photo was taken, and he has never been seen dead or alive since. How the hell was it possible for a man to vanish during a popular race? Were the race organizers to blame for his disappearance? And even with better organization, was the Mount Marathon race simply just too dangerous to go on? Lawsuits quickly followed the 2012 disaster, and people began to choose sides. Some argued that the race organizers had in fact failed Lemaitre, and at the very least, serious race changes needed to be made, and at the most, the race needed to be shut down entirely. But then again, others argued that the danger is part of the allure and tradition of the race, and that every runner, including Lemaitre, needed to be prepared for that. Safety versus thrill, improvement versus tradition. These are the things that were debated following the infamous 2012 Mount Marathon race. And at the forefront of all these debates in Seward, Alaska, were these two simple questions. How the hell and why the hell did a man vanish halfway through a popular mountain race? This is the controversial story of the 2012 Mount Marathon race and the disappearance of Michael Lemaitre. Folks, this is a bizarre and very controversial one. When I first learned about this case, or I guess more specifically when I learned that there was a disappearance during a race, I assumed it was going to be the story of an ultramarathoner disappearing from like a remote trail when he was like 50 miles into the race, or just some extreme scenario like that. So when I learned the real details about the Mount Marathon race, I was shocked, to be completely honest. Oh, and by the way, if you guys couldn't tell already from my voice, I am sick right now and not feeling too great, but the show must go on, so hopefully my voice doesn't sound too messed up, and I promise I'll be back to normal next week. But yeah, this is a complicated story, and there's also some simple lessons.
Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Highlighting in this video.